Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're going to begin the funeral services of Evelyn J. Hoffmann. Rabbi Nancy Landsman from Ahavat Olam will be officiating this morning. Please take a moment to be sure that your cell phones have been turned off, not to disturb the sacred funeral ceremony. This time I invite the family in the first row to please rise and stand together as Rabbi Landsman approaches you to perform the ancient ceremony of Kriya.
Our hearts go out to all of you. Evelyn was someone that was so dear to you and to all those who are here today. Your hearts are torn as we say goodbye to Evelyn, and there are traditional Hebrew words that are said before making a tear in the Kriya ribbon. It's only children who wear this ribbon over their heart, and we know everyone's hearts are torn, and the reason children wear the Kriya ribbon over their heart is because there is no bond as unique and special as that between parent and child. The Hebrew words that are said before making a tear in this ribbon, I invite you to repeat them after me. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Dayan HaEmet. These words mean, praised are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, judge of truth. From the bottom of the ribbon up towards the circular button, you can go ahead and make a tear, or David is coming across to assist you with that. The ribbon can be torn a little or all the way up towards the circular button. You have a choice to wear this Kriya ribbon just today, the first week of mourning, or the period of Shloshim, 30 days. You also have a choice to wear the ribbon tucked in the inside or on the outside for others to see. And if you choose to wear the ribbon on the outside and people see you wearing this Kriya torn black ribbon, hopefully they will understand that you are in a period of mourning and they'll have compassion on you. Please be seated. I am truly honored to be officiating the service today for Evelyn. She is someone I never had the privilege to know, and I'm very grateful to her family taking the time to share their memories, their stories, about which you will hear shortly. In learning about Evelyn, I've selected a few readings, a few poems that I felt were fitting for her and for her beautiful family. Unfortunately, the author of this first poem, entitled A Life Well Lived, the author is unknown. A life well lived is a precious gift of hope and strength and grace from someone who has made our world a brighter, better place. It's filled with moments, sweet and sad, with smiles and sometimes tears, with friendships formed and good times shared, and laughter through the years. A life well lived is a legacy of joy and pride and pleasure, a living, lasting memory our grateful hearts will treasure. Evelyn was so proud of her children. And I think Michelle and Rob both know how proud not only was she of the two of you, but your boys. She adored her grandsons. So being a mother, being a grandmother, that was something she truly treasured. There's a beautiful poem, again, whose author is unknown, that says, "You can only have one mother, patient, kind, and true. No other friend in all the world will be the same to you. When others friends forsake you, to mother you will return. For all her loving kindness, she asks nothing in return. As we look upon her picture, sweet memories we recall of a face so full of sunshine and a smile for one and all. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded." I think everyone here can agree that Evelyn succeeded big time. She improved the lives of so many people, and she brought joy everywhere she went. You're all here to pay tribute to her, to help the family celebrate her beautiful life. How fortunate you have all been to have had her in your life. I think that's part of what makes today so difficult. Although we never know when our time will come, this certainly came as a surprise. We didn't expect to be here today. Many turn to the book of Psalms looking for comfort at times such as this. Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. From whence shall my help come? My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel doth neither slumber nor sleep. In your service folders, you find the 23rd Psalm, a psalm that I think speaks to all of us, regardless of our faith. If you did not receive a service folder, there are extras outside this chapel, and we will be referring to the service folder throughout the service and also at the cemetery. I would like to invite all of you to join with me in reciting the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Evelyn was blessed with a tremendous amount of love from her family, from her beautiful sisters, Yvonne and Sharon, with a beautiful marriage, 60 years, to the late Howard, Michelle and Jay, Rob and Genevieve, Porter, Hayden, Asher and Brennan. You brought her so much joy, all of you. Not everyone can say that they are part of a family that loves them so much. This is truly a gift, and you know that. You know how lucky you are to have had her. An unknown author wrote, "One of the greatest gifts that life can give to anyone is the very special love that families share." As years go by, it's good to know that there will always be certain people in our lives who care. For there are countless things that only families have in common, and memories that no one else can make. And these precious ties that bind a family together are bonds that time and distance cannot break. How fortunate we are when we have relatives to love us. It makes the world a happy place to be. Few gifts in life will last as long or touch the heart as deeply as the very special gift of family. We have a few speakers today, and it is my honor to first call upon Michelle.
Evelyn Hoffmann was born in 1943 during World War II to German Jewish immigrant parents who fled their homeland and Nazis and were fortunate enough to find a home and each other in the United States. Her parents were actively involved in the Chicago Jewish community, sending my mom to Sunday school, where, at the age of 5, she met a boy named Howard. She would start dating Howard when she was 15 years old, marrying him at 22. And staying by his side for the duration of their 48-year marriage until Howard, my dad, passed away in 2014. What a love story. How many of us are fortunate enough to meet our soulmates at the age of 5? After Evelyn and Howard married, my mom worked as a high school biology teacher in Hyde Park while my dad went to law school. When I was born, my mom stopped working and devoted herself to my brother and me, as well as our dad, who worked grueling hours in a law firm. When my dad was 34, he needed emergency open heart surgery to open up 3 blocked arteries. Imagine being a 32-year-old young mom with 2 small children, and your husband has to have life-saving heart surgery. Fortunately, the surgery was a success, but this experience sparked a thought in my mother's mind, that maybe she should continue her career just in case she found herself in the position of taking care of 2 young kids by herself. My mom saw how much my dad loved being a lawyer. If you knew my dad, you knew he was a lawyer in every fiber of his being, and this intrigued my mom. So, when she was 36, and I was 9, and my brother was 5, she enrolled in night school. At the time, I don't think I ever realized how much work it was to attend law school at night while raising 2 kids. My dad was supportive, but he made it clear that his career could not suffer as a result of her goals. So she got babysitters, and she studied, and she made it work. This was in the late 70s, early 80s, when not a lot of moms were going to law school. Now that I'm a mom, I have so much admiration for how she seized her dream and made it a reality. And she passed the bar on the first attempt. I learned at an early age that women could and should pursue professional careers and that my goals were just as important as anyone else's. My mom loved to be active and do new things. When she was young, she would go to overnight camp all summer long. She loved it, especially swimming and being in the water. When we were young, my parents bought a lake house in Wisconsin, and we would go there most weekends. My mom loved to water ski on Golden Lake during the summer and encouraged me to learn when I was 9. I will never forget how one time when our boat got stuck in 3 feet of seaweed, she jumped into the mucky mud and untangled the boat engine, something to this day I could not do. She and my dad loved to travel as well. They took trips to France, Italy, Mexico, Prague. The 4 of us went to Israel in the 90s, which was an amazing experience. A few years ago, she traveled with her sister Sharon to Germany to visit their parents' ancestral home, and she went to Spain with our close friends, the Canes. When I had some time off of work in 2018, we went on an impromptu trip to Boston with my boys just to do something fun. Evelyn was always up for an adventure. She loved to celebrate her birthday. We had big blowouts for her on every 5-year milestone. My dad loved to celebrate her, but when he was gone, she would make sure to celebrate herself. She had a love of life that was both unobtrusive and joyful. She was an avid reader with subscriptions to 2 newspapers and multiple magazines. She was in 2 different book clubs, one spanning 30 years. In addition to that, I would often come to her apartment and find self-help books on every table about ways to live healthier and longer and how to boost your mind. My mom never wanted to stop learning. When I found out I was pregnant with twins, she was ecstatic. Knowing I was totally freaked out and scared about my ability to raise 2 babies at once, she flew into support mode, lending an ear to me anytime I needed to vent about my worries, offering to help me watch my boys, and frequently coming over to my house to help. Her 4 grandsons were her pride and joy. She would ask me during every conversation we had, "Tell me what's new with those amazing boys." She was the perfect doting grandmother. She embraced any opportunity to spend time with her grandsons. My mom was just a really nice person. She would tell the story about how mean she was to her sister Yvonne when they were young by purposely messing up her shoes, which Yvonne liked to keep neat. This was the meanest thing she could recall doing, and she felt really guilty about it. She touched so many people's lives through her kindness and generosity. In the past few years, severe back problems caused her significant and debilitating pain, but she never let the pain she was in stop her from going to plays, symphonies, out to dinner, or otherwise socializing with family and friends. She loved being social and treated everyone with humanity and respect. When she moved into the Marion 4 years ago, she quickly made friends with many people and frequently participated in the educational and social events being offered. My mom did not let life pass her by. She was an active participant. I know that my mom's spirit touched so many people. She was warm, outgoing, and generous of heart. We will miss her dearly. I know she knew she was loved, and that gives me some solace as I say goodbye to the woman who gave birth to me, supported me through every difficult time, and was my friend.
And now it's my honor to call upon Hayden.
I've only known Grandma for the past 18 years. While I wish it could be longer, I really am grateful, even for the small portion of her life in which I knew her. Every time I saw her, she was always incredibly kind and loving, and a shining example of what a grandma should be. I'll never forget many years of celebrating Passover at her home or going to Wisconsin and eating together at Schweifel's. But I think a lot of who my grandma means to me comes through with the stories that she's shared with me. One thing that my grandma has mentioned to me a few times was a story that came from when she would watch my brother and me as babies. She described to me how, despite being in separate cribs, my brother and I would start talking to each other, as she said, in our own made-up language. I think what this story means to me is that Grandma really deeply cared for us, and even more so, she listened to us from before we were even able to talk. I don't remember exactly why, but one day she called me and we were talking over the phone for a while. After a little bit, the conversation shifted over to her and Opa being together in college. She shared the story about how Opa's father wanted him to be a doctor, and how after he died, Opa discovered his talent and passion for being a lawyer. Somehow, I had never heard this story before, despite it feeling like such an important part of our family's history. I realized in that moment just how important Grandma was, not just as a grandma, but as someone who I could look into and see the past and our family's history, and things I would never be able to remember on my own. I'm really going to miss the time, laughter, meals, and stories that I shared with Grandma.
And now it's my honor to call upon Rob.
Thank you, Michelle and Hayden. That was beautiful. This week's outpouring of support from everyone is incredibly appreciated and goes to show how many close, long-standing friendships my mother had. Friendship to her was a lifelong commitment, as witnessed today with so many of you who have known her for well longer than I've even been alive. It is impossible to fathom merely 1 week ago today, Michelle and I spent the afternoon with her and my 12-week-old puppy reminiscing, laughing, and eating like we've been doing for decades. When I think of her, the endearing image will always be her wonderful, ever-present smile. She had a smile for everyone. She could spend half a day making her way from her apartment to the front door of the Marion, speaking to the people who work there, to her friends and friends-to-be. Her move to the Marion 4 years ago was full circle. As she returned to the town she raised her family and had so many fond memories of. At first, she was fearful of moving, but she was immediately welcomed by so many friends, including a classmate from grade school and the wife of one of my father's old law firm partners. A big thank you to her Marion friends who helped her make these last 4 years so meaningful. She had the ability to connect with people by making other people's interests and passions her own. We had a 30-year tradition of going to Blind Faith Cafe for lunch. After all these years, I really don't know if she liked the food. But she knew I did, so it became our tradition. She never missed one of my high school football games and would regularly come over to our house on Sunday afternoons to watch the NFL. And the first call I got when Michigan won it all was from her. She reminded me then how the only game she ever went to in the big house that they lost on a last-second Hail Mary. Good one, Mom. She genuinely cared about helping others and dedicated her legal career to giving a voice to people who could not advocate for her themselves. She was a leader, helping draft and enact legislation that prohibited discrimination against people with disabilities in Illinois, and when she retired, she spent the rest of her career doing pro bono work in guardianship. 27 years ago, I brought Genevieve home to meet her for the first time. She welcomed her with open arms and made her not just welcome, but family. She often joked, at least I think she was joking, that she was coming over to see Genevieve, and if I happened to be there, she would say hi. At its core, her life story was one of unrequited love. The eldest daughter of Holocaust survivors who fell madly in love with the only son of Holocaust survivors. They built a life together focused on building a future for their family, but never forgetting their family's difficult heritage. Their focus, however, went beyond our family. They epitomized tzedakah by supporting numerous charities for Judaism, cancer research, and people with disabilities. When my mom was just 32, my dad had bypass surgery for his heart, and she spent the next 40 years as her mission to make sure he was well taken care of. I can remember just one time I ever heard her yell. My father was sitting in the TV room with me, and we were watching Hill Street Blues. He was staring mindlessly at the TV screen, shoveling Ritz crackers into his mouth, one after another after another. When he got about halfway through the sleeve, she rushed into the room and screamed, "Do you want to go back to the hospital?" As many of you know, my dad worked long hours and held pretty strong opinions on most things. He was not someone who would come home late at night and eat a bowl of cereal for dinner. So even if my mom had gotten up at 6 a.m. to make our lunches, headed to work downtown at the State of Illinois building, gotten home late, She was always sure a proper meal was made for us to eat. She never complained because she loved her life and was grateful for all they had created. Her own health was always very important to her as well, knowing if she couldn't take care of herself, how could she take care of others? Thus, despite her busy schedule, she would find time late at night to go on walks, often taking me along. It was then that I started my love of walking and then running. She lamented the loss of her walks after back surgery, but continued to go to workouts as recently as last week. A few months back, we went to her 80th checkup where she complained afterwards that she was over her target weight. I asked what her target weight was, and when she told me, I responded, "You know you're only 2 pounds off." And without missing a heartbeat, she responded, "It's the weight from the day your dad and I were married and will always be when I thought I was most beautiful." She enjoyed going up to the lake house in Wisconsin with friends and family. She thought it was her escape because my father could finally relax when he got there. She cherished entertaining friends and family and was equally at ease whether she was entertaining farmers from down the road or my dad's friends from the U.S. Attorney's Office. But her favorite guests of all time would be her 4 grandchildren, whom she doted and loved with all her heart. Her time came too soon, and I wonder if she made a deal with God many years ago to give my dad 10 of her years, because that is a deal she would have taken in a heartbeat. Goodbye, Mom. You are incredibly missed, never forgotten, and forever loved.
And now it's my honor to call upon Asher.
Hello everyone, my name is Asher Hoffmann, the proud grandson of Evelyn Hoffmann. My grandma has taught me so much about what it means to be a positive person and will forever be a role model to me and my brother Brennan. When reminiscing about her, I specifically remember coming over to our house and playing my brother and my cousins in her basement. She made it such a cool place for us to play. It had Legos and balls and a massive train set, and after we were done playing, we would always leave the place completely trashed. And after we were done playing, we would thousands of Legos everywhere. All the closet doors flung open, and at least 2 slightly injured kids. Grandma would just walk down the stairs and smile. She was happy that she created a place for us to have fun. That was just the kind of person she was. 4 weeks ago, I went with her and my dad to visit Opa, Evelyn's husband Howard, on what would have been his 82nd birthday. On the drive to the cemetery, Grandma and I talked about my college and my future. She had always been curious about my life, whether it was about school or soccer. She showed true care about the people around her. While walking through the cemetery, she told me all these incredible stories about the people she knew who were buried there. Her ability to remain joyful while in such a solemn surrounding, visiting her deceased parents and spouse, amazed me. It left me in awe of her resilience and strength. I'll remain happy knowing she is with her loved ones right now, who love her as much as I do. Thank you for allowing me to share a glimpse of the incredible person my grandma was. I loved you.
As I told the family yesterday when we met, I'd like the family members to speak first, and I'll fill in whatever blanks might be left. Well, I have to tell you, there aren't too many blanks. You did a great job and really sharing with everyone. Maybe not all of you knew her the same way for as many years, and perhaps you've learned something more about Evelyn. I think it's worth just recalling, as you hopefully will continue to speak about Evelyn, not just today or in the weeks or months ahead, but le dor va dor, from generation to generation. That's how many of us believe one's spirit, one's soul can live on forever, by those of us who are still here continuing to speak about her. To recall how generous and charitable she was, how she was always so positive and fun, the huge heart. She was well-read. She was supportive, generous beyond words, kind and caring and loving. She was like a second mom to Genevieve. She was someone who truly made a difference in people's lives. She was an incredible role model from the way she lived her life, the choices she made, the love that she gave, always up to do whatever you wanted to do, whether she wanted to or not, because that's who she was. She was there for you. I think you guys didn't say this yesterday, but I got the impression she was selfless. Being blessed with all this love from family and friends, being able to travel. She got to travel many times to Europe. She loved going there. The family recalled other trips to Israel. There were road trips, and of course, spending so much time in their second home in Wisconsin. So cherish this beautiful smile that lit up a room. And remember the times that you were able to be together. She'll always be right there in your heart. Zecher, Tzadik, Livracha. The memory of the righteous is forever a blessing. And to that we say, Amen. I invite you to turn to your service folders. If you plan on joining us at the cemetery, be sure to take the service folder with you, as we will, at the cemetery, be reciting the Mourner's Kaddish. Here in the chapel, it is customary to conclude the service with El Malei Rachamim, the prayer you find underneath the 23rd Psalm. It is customary to rise, so if you are able to stand, I invite you to please rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shochem Bamromim, Hamasei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanvei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Ki Zohar Arkia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Esther Shalecha Leolama Baal Harachamim, Yastiri Habeseter Kinafecha Leolamim, Bitzror HaChaim Et Nishmata Adonai Unachalata V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava sin no more. Amen. Let us say the translation together. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Evelyn J. Hoffmann, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may her repose be peace. Amen. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, the interment service will continue at New Light Cemetery. It's at East Prairie and Pratt Boulevard in Lincolnwood. It's about a 10-minute ride. The family will be returning to the Hoffmann residence at 1007 Ramona Road in Wilmette. They'll be together following the interment till 5 p.m., and memorial contributions to the Jewish United Fund would be appreciated. All that information is on the service folder that you received upon entering the chapel. If you did not get one, we have them as you exit the chapel. For those of you who will be driving in the funeral procession to the cemetery, the procession will be forming in our parking lot. Please obtain an orange safety funeral sticker to place on the right-hand side of your windshield. Have your bright lights and hazard lights on at all times. For additional measures of safety, we will be providing a car in the back of the procession to hopefully keep other cars from entering the procession. Please use your horn liberally as you're going through the intersections. Please do not speak or text on your cellular phone while driving to a cemetery. This time I invite everyone to please rise and stand in place as the pallbearers come forward, the grandchildren and son-in-law, daughter-in-law if you wish, as we escort the casket of Evelyn J. Hoffmann from the chapel along with Rabbi Landsman. Then you may return to your cars.